Number 2. Experience the show's score with sound captioning. Seke created a choreographic score as part of his research into black horror. He wrote it during the 2020 pandemic as a hallucination of what this new piece could become. A score in dance references a set of instructions or framework within which dancers can improvise. Seke's score is more of a blueprint for the piece. He tried to capture his memories of dancing in words, itself an action of audio description and captioning. It was using this piece of writing that he, along with the cast of performers, then created choreographic material for the show It Begins in Darkness. Some of the dance material is completely set, and some of it is improvised within tight parameters. In this section of the booklet, we have framed Seke's reading of the score within the soundscape of the performance, editing in snatches of corresponding sounds from the show with Seke's guidance. This section is designed to take you on a journey of the show via his imagination. The soundscape for It Begins in Darkness was composed using recordings of the dancers. Sound technician and production manager Michael Picknett used floor microphones to capture the sounds created by their dancing. These sounds of stepping, feet brushing the floor, breathing, and the movement of clothes were used by composer Aisha Orazbayeva to create ghostly echoes on violin and double bass.
It begins in darkness. The sound of a creaking door and then a high-pitched flute. As a cold blue light illuminates the space, I see them standing at the edge of the stage in an uneven line facing the back. They slowly begin to turn, shifting in increments. Their arms begin to reach up in a variety of ghostly poses. The singing starts quietly as they slowly begin to spread out, intruding into the space, and find positions of almost stillness. Some are squatting, some standing. The singing stops and they start moving. Arms twitching, step across kick, pivot, reach, lunge. Arms twitching, step across kick, pivot, reach, lunge. Hands across chest. The body remembers. Memory as property. Knees quake, arms shoot out. She lays her forehead on the ground, mumbling, "The past is your shadow, unfinished business." She jumps, but softly, so as not to rouse the sleepers. A quick glance from left to right, an almost imperceptible movement of the shoulders. That quivering, lilting motif will be one that we remember. A drowning upwards, a waving to the fire spirits, whole body flapping now. This dance has no centre, as indeed history has no centre. We collect fragments on the shores of perception and arrange them in patterns, creating knowledge forms. But so much of this history is missed or misplaced, swept up again by the tide. An arm curves upwards. Fingers meet above his head, forming a circle of the arms, which swoops forwards in front of his chest. His arms swim out to the side like a breaststroke as he turns, lilting from side to side. His head tilts back as his eyes gaze down. He leans forwards to test the waters. Fingers crawl up the buttons on his chest. Fingers brush hair. 3 low, heavy jumps. His gaze follows his leg as it swoops up. He darts across the space in a series of small, pattering steps. A door slams shut, a syncopated flurry of movements, a polyrhythmic conversation between torso, arms, and legs. An arch, and a sudden curve of the back. Everyone pauses for a moment, then darkness. The darkness says, "Come in, black lake inside you." The waters begin to stir, a hand pushes upwards, upward digging, burrowing buried treasure, buried history, a rebellion of the soul. As if possessed by a demon, he seems to splinter into 1,000 pieces of dust. The rest of the meat pressing and humming. Hands to the floor, then back up to the head, fractured slow motion, dragging, wailing, sobbing, swaying. The low reddish light fills the floor behind them. Their eyes meet. He smiles. She closes her eyes, pressing her feet into his back. Sliding hands down the backs of his legs, crawling backwards, awkward low turns. We hear the slow beat of a drum. Soul time, ghost time, quivering and lilting, shipwrecked proximities of ancestral flesh. Hands brush thighs. Inhale, invisible history. Exhale. The momentum in these bodies is the material. It is a kind of doubt or leaning away from what we think we know, the courage to let yourself fall. For a moment, I think, it's all in the eyes, that shifting search. A ripple of fear, a flourish of reverence to some long-forgotten gods, gathering as if for a guided tour. Let me show you the great hall filled with relics and trophies. The sound of tap dancing, the smell of sweat, the crescendo of an arrhythmic thump heralds a new chapter. Soft undulations, soft collisions, an almost embrace, a distracted foot stomp. This is a dance of abundance. It refuses the logic of scarcity, the sound of flutes and screeching violins. She turns and falls. I try to catch her as she melts into air. Unmoored and leaderless, we traverse these energetic patterns and unregulated movements, haunted by the possibility of a better world. This dance has its own history. It is closing in on me, and I can taste its sweat and hear its heartbeat. Through the dimming light, I can still make out their forms and features. I touch their warm skin and the soft fabric of their grey costume. The rhythm intensifies and then suddenly dissipates as the dancers scatter across the stage. We breathe together for a moment in the empty silence. Under the spell of malevolent empire, dancing grave diggers of freedom assert and reassert their vampiric agendas, shuffling in time to the blood-sucking beat of profit, land acquisition, and the accumulation of private property. Bodies as private property. The spectral tapestry of imperialism webs its smoke in mid-Atlantic memory, plantation terror, haunted wealth. As capitalism destroys the planet, we search for alternative routes, paths away from or around catastrophe, picking up signals from the past and future. Everything that can be counted will eventually be sorted. Lights fade up to a stark white glare. Retreating, curved over, arms stretched out but hands limp. An iron circle around your neck. History looking directly at you. How much sweat, skin, and fear. You scream. Running, swarming, riotous and anarchic. Insurgents smashing, untethered and formless. Floating away through time. Reclining, her arms reach up behind her head, sinking into one hip. Arms hang down limply, fists turn, hinging forwards, looking down at the ground through splayed fingers, shunting backwards, twisted leap, pointing straight towards the audience, moving slowly backwards, retreating, surveying. Hands against the black back wall. This dance is dangerous. This dance is an oracle. This dance self-replicates. This dance contains clues. The distant past gets nearer through great iron gates, along a wooded path, among quiet green hills. Beyond the lake stands a great house, a property full of painful, stories. A monster mansion with shivering walls of stone, proud turrets casting long shadows, gargoyles peering out between Gothic arches. Stained glass saints frozen in time. Listen to the voices in the black oak rafters. I came here to uncover and dig up, to open the cupboards and find the keys to the locked rooms. A time tourist, a time looter, taking time, robbing time. Who does time belong to? At night, we gather by the wide-hooded fireplace. We discuss inheritance, trade, natural resources, bricks and fabric, oil paintings, leather-bound volumes and suits of armour, masks, busts and tapestries, elephant tusks, animal bones, bracelets and bangles, rugs and furs, thrones, cabinets, cuckoo clocks, diamonds, cobalt, machinery and manufacture. Yes, I know how to dance with this thing we call history. I slide, crash, twist down on my back as it hovers above me, circling, surrounding me whole, and my eyes wide, mouth wide, ears wide open. I turn, it's rushing, pushing past me. The spectres are scurrying, hovering, limping, laughing, a turn on one leg, a joyful jolt across the diagonal, a broken march in the faltering light. Furiously shaking their hands, then abruptly jutting forwards. One of them turns, convulsing his spine, leaning back, recoiling. His leg sweeps behind, hand like a knife, head whips round, arms stretch up in a V shape. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. She jumps, but softly, so as not to rouse the sleepers. A quick glance from left to right, an almost imperceptible movement of the shoulders. She turns and falls. I try to catch her as she melts into air. This dance has no centre, as indeed history has no centre, a moving, roving, circling of seasons as the planet, hurled round its sun, consumes its dead. They stand in a huddle now, then all move in different directions at once, gesticulating wildly, juxtaposing agitation with moments of stillness. An imported arabesque, rough magic, manufactured momentariness. The feeling of time passing, division of labour, watching and being watched. The light flickers and they disappear. On the south lawn, I took a break from my explorations and lay on the spiky grass and tried to relax. Looking up at the sky, I saw 4 black clouds coming together, blown from the north, south, east, and west. As they came together, they began to form the shape of Africa. The clouds began to descend. They were coming steadily towards me, coming nearer, coming down, so close now. I was soon enveloped in their cold, wet droplets, swallowed whole. They picked me up, 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 up above the trees, higher, higher still, as we left the blue of the atmosphere. From the blackness of the void, I looked down at my home planet and saw that the continent of Africa was missing.